Welcome to the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast with psychologist Dr. Doreen Downing. Listen in as Doreen interviews people who felt they didn't have a voice or who suffered extreme speaking anxiety. You'll hear stories about how they struggled to speak up, what they did to find their authentic voice, and the confidence they now feel to speak up and make an impact. If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. And now, here is Doreen.
Hi, this is Dr. Doreen Downing, host of the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast. And today I'm interviewing Sarah Dawkins. Sarah's a new friend to me, and most of the time here on my podcast, I do interview people I've never met before. So it's a moment to sit down and have a coffee and say, well, who are you? How did you find your voice? And when was it that you felt like you struggled? That's what we get to do today. First, like to say hi Sarah, before I introduce you.
Hi, Doreen. Lovely to be here and thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad that you said what you just said, because people get to hear that you've got a beautiful lyrical tone to your voice as well as an accent. Thank you. I'm going to do a introduction bio that you sent me. Sarah is a highly sought after holistic health and healing coach, keynote speaker, and the author of Heal Yourself. As a former registered nurse with over 20 years of medical experience, Sarah brings a unique, integrative perspective to her work. She's also a multi-award-winning entrepreneur and host of the popular health-focused podcast, Heal Yourself with Sarah Dawkins. Sarah's expertise spans from self-healing multiple chronic health issues to supporting clients in uncovering and addressing the root causes of their symptoms, empowering them to achieve vibrant, lasting health and transformative wellness. Sarah,
Thank you.
that's a wonderful bio. The transformative wellness. I haven't ever really heard that phrase. I know
Because
I always like to start with the history, but let's just start there. Transformative wellness. Tell me about that.
because when we're sick, we are not ourselves. We are having symptoms. So by finding the root cause of the symptoms and healing that, our symptoms heal, which transforms us back to vibrant health and wellness.
Wonderful explanation. I hope everybody just got that about. I love it. I love already what I'm learning. This is so fabulous that, of course, it makes sense that if I'm not well, and I have some kind of sickness, then I'm not myself.
Absolutely.
Good. Well, we'll get more to that later on in our conversation. But so you know that the podcast is about finding your voice, and most people that I interview somewhere along the line remember having either a sense or an experience or maybe a time period where they felt like they didn't have a voice. So let's start there, however far back you want to or need to go.
I think as a child, I liked to ask questions. I wanted to know how everything worked and why.
Yeah.
And I remember being shut down. Yeah, stop asking so many questions. Be quiet. Why did you say that? Which led to me losing my voice because I didn't like the response to my questions. I still did ask questions, but not quite so many. Then in school, I remember, I think it was a physics class, and he was doing a long mathematical equation. And I just asked for some clarity. And as soon as he started giving me clarity on the first part of it, I totally understood the rest of it. And I'm like, that's great, thank you. But he went on to explain the whole lot. And to me, that made me feel stupid.
Oh.
So that compounded my childhood.
Mhm.
And then when I was nursing, I wanted to help people through teaching and training. And so I did a course, I paid for myself privately, did a teacher training course so that I could teach people. And then it dawned on me that I would have to speak in front of people.
Mhm.
Now, I was okay in little groups, informal talking sessions, teaching sessions, just 2, 3, 4 people. But then the thought, what have I done? I like to impart knowledge, but then the thought of doing it in a formal situation filled me with terror. So that was the start of my journey of losing my voice and being frightened to find it again.
Well, there were a couple of things that you've already pointed to, the earlier childhood
Yeah.
being kind of and I think that curiosity, helps us as we grow into the kind of, well, we're women, the kind of people we are that we're meant to be, is that we like to explore, we like to discover, and that there's always more. And especially with your work, where you do, like what we talked about when I started, transformative wellness, it's like, oh, how did you discover that? It takes somebody like you who has curiosity, but it was kind of putting my hands up, stop, or don't ask. And then the experience with the teacher who just took it as his own platform to take the spotlight and over explain to you. So yeah, thank you for those two stories about not having a voice. Becoming aware, early on during your I don't know, teenage years, let's say, something like that, before you get to that place where you're going to go teach or want to teach, what was that like for you, just having been kind of shut down anyway, and like socially, how how did you manage? What was your life like?
It was very Victorian, my upbringing. So when I hit 17, I left home on my birthday because I didn't like the rules. I
Uh,
felt very, very shut down and constrained. And I
uh-huh.
became a rebel. I went out and I partied and I drank and I smoked cannabis and I took some drugs and really worked hard. I worked 7 days a week, long, long hours in a cafeteria stroke restaurant, and then would go out after that to the bars, to the nightclubs and dance and party and really rebelled and threw myself into being the me that I wanted to be, that I felt was shut down throughout my childhood.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Shut down, kind of squished in there. This vibrant, that's another word you use, vibrant. That means
Yes,
a lot to you. And I can see how your natural vibrancy, if it was, kind of contained, that there's this breaking free, the wild, beautiful, and wild, not meaning, crazy, destructive wild, but just expressive.
yes. And I was bullied at school as well by 3 separate girls. So I felt very shut down there as well.
Oh my
So
God.
I really was
Uh-huh.
finding myself, expressing myself however I wanted to. And I was quite loud and boisterous.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, I'm glad you put in a few extra details and some more stories about the difficulty that you experienced, because I think that's what listeners relate to. It's like
Yeah.
they are on their own journey and they have their own struggle. And so that today, something like being bullied is a way in which we shrink ourselves. Who wants to be seen and visible? If
Yeah.
you're going to get assaulted or attacked, even verbally, not
Yeah.
necessarily physically. Okay, well, then you talked about moving out as a nurse. I'm curious. I picked psychology probably because I was or am more of a quiet kind of person, listener. I'm not fully extroverted out there. So I kind of have a sense that I chose psychology because of not only the deep inner kind of exploration I like to do, but also the listening, and I'm quiet. So why did you pick nursing, do you think?
My mum was a nurse,
Uh-huh.
then she was a midwife, and then she was a health visitor. But I just liked caring for people, helping people, especially in vulnerable times. I mean, we're all vulnerable at different times, and our vulnerabilities are different. But I really wanted to help people. And I think it came from the point of not having the help as a child that I needed and feeling the need to give that to other people because maybe they didn't have that either. So nursing seemed the right choice for me to be able to help people during vulnerable times.
Uh-huh. Fabulous. Yeah, it kind of helps me look back on why I chose, for a deeper sort of reason, in terms of my mom having mental health issues. So it makes kind of sense, doesn't it, that I would pick psychology?
Yes, to understand.
And then your mother was somebody who, yeah, for me, it was understanding, but you had a good model. You had a mother who was already doing nursing. And so it was, something like a painted picture in front of you that you were familiar with, but also the caring. Huh. I just want to tap into that a little bit. Look at your radiance right now. For people who are watching, you just saw how Sarah just, when we tapped into caring, her face opened and there's a radiance all of a sudden. Did you feel it?
Yeah, yeah. I
What
feel
is
it in my heart. It's
okay?
I feel it's a dharma. I feel living my dharma now. And nursing felt good when I started out. I trained in 98, qualified in 2001. And in 2004, we moved to America forever to nurse out there, live out there, and integrate. But it wasn't quite what we thought it was. So we moved back. But during that time, somebody questioned my use of pharmaceuticals at home, just the regular stuff that everybody uses. So it set me on a journey looking at why would a nurse question me using pharmaceuticals? Because that's what we do. And that was my belief system. We need doctors, pharmaceuticals, and hospitals. And that opened so many doors about how powerful we are and how our body heals itself by itself.
Uh-huh.
And I just started looking into that further and started my own healing journey. And I healed a whole range of health problems: 3 autoimmune, burned out adrenal glands, depression with suicidal thoughts, candida, bulimia nervosa, which, as you know, is a mental health disorder. The more I was doing the healing, the more I wanted to spread the word to others because it was new to me. It was a revelation because I'd been brought up that when we're sick, we take a pill and that's what makes us better. And now suddenly I'm like, my God, my body heals itself and I'm so powerful. So I wanted to share that with the world. And that was where I felt pulled to. This is really helping people to help themselves. In the hospital, I'm helping them to get out of bed and I'm helping them by giving painkillers. And yes, it's helping them, but it didn't give me the fulfillment after a period of years that I was feeling it would.
Uh-huh.
And so I trained as a coach and surrendered my license as a nurse because I felt it was a bit amoral to be doing one thing totally the opposite of what nursing was. So now I feel coaching people is really helping them to understand their own bodies, their own healing, and support them on their own journey. That is really what healing is.
Oh boy, now that's a stake in the ground. Yeah,
Yes.
this is your truth. Speaking of voice, it feels like your voice just came out loud and clear, meaning it's what you know to be so true in your heart and in your gut and in your soul. The reason why you're here on earth right now to do this kind of work. I'm going to take a quick break, and there's a few things I want to reach back into because you just talked about your own healing journey. So I want to get a few more details about that. We'll be right back.
If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com.
Hi, we're back with Sarah Dawkins today talking about transformative wellness, being able to heal ourselves from the inside out. And as a nurse, she discovered that there is somehow, and we're going to talk about this next, is that as a nurse, she came across the sense, or, the discovery that really it's not about a pill. It's not about going to a doctor. There's something else that we as humans are capable of. She's written a book, Heal Yourself. Is that what it says? Yes. And has a podcast and is talking to us today about how from our own resources, our own inner, you didn't say this word, pharmacy, inside of our natural pharmacy, that we can heal ourselves. So that's what I want to go back to. You mentioned your own healing journey. You mentioned quite a few things, Candida, you mentioned mental health, some depression. I think you even said suicidal thoughts, if not attempts. I don't know. So please tell us whatever you can, because I'm sure people who are suffering out there and wanting to hear from somebody who went through a journey of healing. What, if you can?
So I first started out healing psoriasis and then went on to heal eczema and acid reflux. And it was about getting outside more in the sunshine, walking, de-stressing. I also cut out milk, lactose and gluten from my diet because they can both exacerbate. Within about a month, I'd healed all those conditions just from those small tweaks. So that was me now seeing, I don't need a pill. I don't need steroids. I can do this. Mm-hmm. And then I went on to heal the bulimia and candida. I also had chronic joint pains, low backache, neck ache, shoulder pains, a frozen shoulder 1 year, a frozen shoulder the next, the other one. And then that led into the depression, the suicidal thoughts. Whilst I was in that, my thyroid stopped working and I burnt out my adrenal glands. So I'd got quite sick and I healed all of that over a period of time. But it wasn't until I actually did my coaching training that I realized there was a piece of my jigsaw of my healing that I wasn't even aware of. That was to do with healing our emotional body, our past. And we have to heal our past because we just hold on to it so tight and we took it down so low. And when I was depressed, I took to drinking as well, but didn't see that I had a problem until the doctor told me, because I'm trying to suppress the emotions. Mm-hmm. So I healed all of that with changing for a healthier lifestyle, cutting toxins out of my environment, my products, exercising more, hydrating, getting back in touch with my own inner voice, because a lot of us disconnect from it and it's there for us. And it's the quiet voice that speaks to us, whatever name you want to give that. It's not our ego that's shouting in our ear. It's that little quiet voice. And the mental health work, the mindfulness, the meditation, practicing gratitude is so simple. And, just for a good cup of coffee or to be able to see a bit of blue sky outside or go for a walk or the roof over our heads and the food's in our pantry, the real little things are what really matter. And the emotional and physical, obviously, exercise, sleep, nutrition, all of that needs to be addressed for us to truly heal. I learned that on my journey over a period of years, but it slowly fell together bit by bit by bit. And that's how my book was born, from my own healing and understanding as I started to heal. Of course, I thought there's got to be more people out there doing this. I can't be the only one, but I also need to let people like me who didn't even know any of this existed know that we can heal ourselves. And here's lots of people sharing how they've done it to heal themselves.
Well, the personal stories around your own adjustments that you needed to make without using, I guess, traditional, whatever you might call it, some kind of medicine. You looked within and you said the inner voice.
Yeah.
You said something about that there was wisdom or guidance, perhaps, right?
From our inner voice. Some people call it our higher self, our innate wisdom. Other people call it God, spirit, the angels, the universe. It doesn't matter the name, but what matters is we get back in touch with it. And to do that, we have to be either still and quiet, Or I like to walk out in nature with my dog, and it's quiet, it's tranquil. And for me, it's a walking meditation as well. I'm with nature, it's nourishing my soul. I'm able to listen to myself.
The listening. And you're right that the distractions and the noises of busy is
Yeah.
something that takes us away from being a good listener to our own bodies, our own inner wisdom. Well, wonderful. This is a journey with you today, and I want to know how people can find you. Looks like you're coaching. Talk about that.
Thank you. Most people can find me through my website, which is my name, sarahDawkins.com. Sarah with an H, Dawkins, Dawkins. And my book is on there, my contact details, or my social, my podcast, anything and everything is on my website.
Mm-hmm. And if somebody comes to you, what do you do, an assessment? How do you work?
All the clients that have come to me so far have found me through social media, internet, podcasts, summits, and they come to me and say, I want to work with you. So I've never had to do that initial interview, but if somebody came to me and was unsure, then I could certainly have a talk with them, explore what their symptoms are, and to see if we would be able to work together, because not everybody's at the right point to actually start their healing. They might think they are, but their subconscious is holding them back, and that can be explored through conversation.
Yes, I totally understand about being held back, because a lot of people who have the fear of speaking up, think that it's going to be horrible to actually look at their fear, because they keep projecting how difficult it's been in the past. So how could it ever be in the future? So they put it off, they delay, or
And there's also that lack of confidence as well, to want to go in, like you said, the fear to do that. But the beauty of that is, once you've got that confidence to go in, be supported, find the root cause and work on that, you heal. Because it's that root cause that's causing the symptoms. So they just dissipate naturally as you heal that root cause.
Oh, yes. I love watching you today, because you have this wide-eyed, the possibility, and you just get so passionate. So thank you. Before we end today, I'd like to give you a little bit of an opening to see how you might want to leave, what you might want to leave the listeners with today.
I think if you look at healing, it can look overwhelming because there's so many facets of it. But actually, start with one thing, one tiny little thing that you feel able to do, whether it's change a food in your diet, whether it's take a walk every day, whether it's do the inner work and go back into yourself and listen for that inner voice. It doesn't matter, but choose one thing that you feel able to do and do that. As the saying goes, a journey of 1,000 steps starts with one step, something like that. But it's about choosing something you feel able to do and doing that. And you can always have more in later, but don't look at the whole big picture. It can be overwhelming.
Right. Thank you. It's what's right in front of you, right? And you don't have to make a commitment to forever. You just make a commitment to what's right in front of you, what's next. But also being held by you, being, I don't know if you want to call it accountable, but it's like being supported by you. And just the message, like what you just said, is I'm here. You're not pushing. You're just saying, let's just do it. It's a gentle approach. I like seeing that with you.
Let's do what you can do.
Oh,
Yes.
that's a good last line. Let's do what you can do. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Dr. Doreen.
Thank you for being with us today for this episode of Find Your Voice, Change Your Life. Each person Doreen interviews shares what has helped them find their voice. You can learn from these guests and find your voice so you can be confident to speak up and speak out. And remember to download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. We hope you enjoyed the show and will return next time. Until then, goodbye for now.